And this morning's Scramble Flashback is brought to you by Downtown Stillwater.
Fridays, Food Trucks and Tunes. Downtown Stillwater's newest series of events takes place through September from 6 to 9 p.m. on the third Friday of the month. Hi, this is Amy Jo Frazier with Downtown Stillwater, and I'd like to invite you to join us at 7th and Main for live music, family fun, and a wide variety of fantastic food trucks. For more information, go to downtownstw.com or follow us on Facebook. Hope to see you in beautiful, historic Downtown Stillwater.
Stillwater's Morning Scramble, Steve Daniels, and always honored to have State Senator Jim Halligan in, former president at Oklahoma State University.
Thank you.
Still around Stillwater, still ready for football season. Can I ask you if you sit in the suites, or are you down there with the? You're down there with the rest of us, aren't you?
No, we're at the club level. See, I want to be outside. For so many years, I think you've heard me say this before, we would have a guest in the president's box and from the other school, and so you couldn't really root and say what you wanted to say concerning a call by the referee. Now I'm outside, all right? I don't want, I'm honored, I get a little pass, so I can go up to the suites and tell Boone hello and people like this, okay? That's fine, I like to do that. But I want to get down with the mud, the blood, and the beer. I mean, let's be honest, that's football. I mean, you got to be out there where you can really express yourself completely.
4.5 weeks away from the first home game, so it is here.
All right.
You got some stuff you want to dive into.
There you go. How about a little Plutarch? I don't know if you remember Plutarch or not.
Okay, and I'm almost afraid to say no, but the answer is no.
Okay. Serious Roman philosopher, all right? But in any event, I love this quote. An imbalance between rich and poor is the oldest and the most fatal ailment of all republics. An imbalance between the rich and the poor.
What year did he say that?
Oh, golly, I don't have it, but...
we had Dr. Shelley Sitton on yesterday, and she just got back from Africa. And was talking about that same thing. In South Africa, they are either the haves
that's right.
or the have-nots.
All right. And so this second machine age, again, let me give you a few other statistics, all right? Just to give you a feeling for where we are, all right? The top 10% earned 50% of the total income in 2012. 2012, the top 10% got 50% of the income. The top 1% got 22% of the income. By 2010, the six heirs of Sam Walton had more net worth than the bottom 40% of the income distribution in the United States.
Do those numbers surprise you? Because they don't me. Because we have people that make... You mentioned the top 1%. There are people in this country that we see the CEOs that make salaries of $60 to $80 million. It takes a lot of $50,000 salaries to add up to that. So that seems to make sense to me, doesn't it?
Next quote. You ready for the next quote?
I'm ready.
Voltaire, all right, the French guy.
Now, this guy I've heard of.
Okay. Work saves a man from three great evils: boredom, vice, and greed. Now, I'm hitting here, all right? So, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do as a society? And there they go through all of the ways in which artificial intelligence. I mean, Siri. Just imagine Siri on your phone.
I try not to. We don't get along. Does she talk to you?
Sure.
Okay.
Anyway, but Siri is amazing. It's amazing. My interpretation of what these guys say is we're going to have a lot of people who can't get a job. And so what do we do about that? Now, we have one of the things that's sort of tempting. You say, let's tax the rich. We need to get more money. Let's tax the rich. They'll move. They will move. They'll move their resources. Okay? It's just life. We have some dear friends. I don't want to go too far, but their
money are in the Cayman Islands.
They're in Texas and money in the Cayman Islands, okay? Now, they are just being rational. So if you say, let's really sock it to the rich will go somewhere where they don't do that. So how do we get ourselves out of this circumstance? What do we do to try to address this oncoming real problem? The first thing is we must make certain that they have a good vocabulary in the third grade, and we must make certain they have good math skills. We must. We are woefully deficient relative to the rest of the world in math skills. But they follow from reading skills. You got to be able to read in order to be able to understand the math problems. How many students say, I don't like word problems in math? All right? Just give it to me in terms of symbols. I don't want to have to interpret the language. Well, what is life about? Life is about having a word problem.
So look, I liked figuring out when the trains were going to meet.
Train
And you probably did too.
Train A and Train B.
One links from St. Louis and one links from Biloxi.
There you go. Where are they going to pass?
One's going 50, one's going 30. Where will they meet?
There you go.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. But having taught algebra in college, right?
Yep.
One of the things the students didn't like was word problems.
Right, I know.
So, bottom line of it all is, first, we have to have additional emphasis on education. But then they also say, and Milton Friedman, I don't know whether you know much.
Yeah, I do.
All right. Milton Friedman won the Nobel Prize, et cetera. Was wonderful in that he said we should have an all-volunteer army. That was the best strategy for our country. He said, we have to pay people. We have to have a negative income tax. And that, in my judgment, is what these guys say. We have to go to a negative income tax. Now, what does that mean? It says you must have a job to qualify. And if you are getting the minimum wage, we will supplement, when you file for your income tax, we'll give you a check back in the mail. The government must be the employer of last resort. But we must do everything we can to encourage the private sector to hire these people and then to supplement their income such that we have as many people employed as possible, because it is work that gives dignity to life. It is having a job that is most important, and the sociologist's examination of the neighborhoods, etc., it is when they don't have anything to do, they don't have a job, they don't have anywhere to go. That's when you really get societal breakdown. Divorce rates skyrocket, etc., etc. And so reluctantly, and I think it's delightful to read books like this, or as you know, I'm this kind of guy.
Have your opinions been changed, though?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I gathered even when you were talking about taxes, because like when you mentioned the wealthy will, they're going to take their money somewhere else,
Sure.
And why wouldn't they, is what you said. You could argue the other side and say, well, by paying your taxes here, you are investing in the future of your kids and your grandkids.
So what you're saying is, for a societal good, I should stay here and pay taxes.
All got to do our share. We've all got to do our share, right?
Right. And so the question is, trying to remember, I think it was during the, I won't go there. The French Minister for Finance said taxes is sort of like plucking a goose, all right? How many feathers can you remove without too much squawking?
Say that makes sense, yeah.
and so that's the balance that politicians try to make. They try to figure out how many, because we need to fund education, roads,
Right.
that's it, all the.
But do you agree that everybody has to do their share?
Oh, I think everybody has to do their share. And almost everyone agree to that. The problem is, what is your share?
Right.
You see, when you get down to it. And if you say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to really tax the ultra wealthy, they'll figure out ways to get around it.
Right.
So that is not a good strategy. What he is saying, you are better off to figure out, to get everybody working, as those, there will always be some in society that are not blessed and they can't work, okay? But the vast majority of them, they need to have some place to go and to feel they're making a contribution. And giving them a negative income tax is something that we as a society must carefully consider.
Did you ever think about being a preacher? Let me tell you why. You know how a good sermon starts off, and they get that message out,
Yes.
and then they tell us a great story,
Yeah.
and they veer in different directions, and they come back right where they started.
There you go.
And it comes full circle.
But I want to close with this.
All right,
This is the
Reverend.
maraschino cherries, very short.
All right.
Okay. On several occasions, we talked about term loans.
And you are for term loans.
Four term loans, yes. Even university presidents.
Right.
Self-imposed, I think, because I think if you haven't done it in 10 years, you ought to let somebody else give it a go. So term limits. Halligan is for term limits. Now, the reason is principally because of Gene Stipe.
Okay.
Let's be straightforward.
I'll go with that.
Okay.
And every state has a Gene Stipe.
That's right. You can't be like Gene Stipe and go on and on and on and on.
You can in the U.S. Senate.
Yes, you can.
Which
But I'm
is
in favor.
federal.
I'm in favor of term limits at the national level.
Are you?
I'm in favor. I think it's good to have 8 years maximum for the presidents. Even though I think Bill Clinton was a wonderful president. I just think he had some personal issues that I thought were regrettable and despicable. All right, but nevertheless, he had good judgment. Where, I guess I'll say this. I always just say what I think. It's delightful at this age of life. President Obama is very intelligent, but he is not wise. There's a big difference between intelligence and wisdom. And Clinton, for all you can say, of course he's a personal friend of mine for a little while, is very wise. Very wise. Wily. That's what you want in a president.
Let me ask you this
Sure.
as we wrap things up.
That was my maraschino cherry. I put a cherry on top of the cherry. Okay.
Is Hillary going to be the next president? She's running, right?
Well, let's see. As you know, I have 5 grand ladies and 3 grand gentlemen.
Right.
So I will celebrate the fact that I hope in the near future we have a woman who is wise. Wise.
Do you think Hillary is wise?
We have yet to see that demonstrated because Barack Obama came out of nowhere and beat her. And of course, I had a personal conversation with Bill Clinton after he got beat by Frank White as governor in Arkansas. Just the two of us walking on the campus of the University of Arkansas while I was at the University of Arkansas. And I said to him, "This was a wonderful experience for you. You needed it. You were arrogant. But I think you are so talented, you're going to be president of the United States someday. And this is just perfect for you at this time in life." So I think it was very good. And then there's nothing.
Now, what did he say after that?
Failure teaches. Well, as you know, he was kind enough to come to New Mexico and speak when I was inducted as president. We retained our friendship. He was reflective. We walked a few steps.
See,
So
I'm thinking
that's what you think, Halligan?
I'm thinking I can take this and run with it and say you're the guy that talked him into that, and so you almost changed the course of history.
No.
Well, that's my story.
Yeah, that's good. You're being generous. So then we will see who the Republican opponent is, and whether or not her wisdom quotient has increased. It is very good for our society to have people who are battle-hardened as president. And
she is that. So
that's right.
Who's going to be the Republican candidate? Are they going to go moderate? Are they going to go Tea Party? Where are they going to go?
Well, I think I've urged Jeb Bush to run. But the question is, can he get by the primaries?
Yeah.
I think we have to do something about immigration. Can't have 12 million people changing topics here, but some other time we can talk about immigration. What my view is there. We're not going to send them home. I mean, we're not. So if we're not going to send them home, we have to figure out some way to regularize the process. So who will be the Republican? I think it's really up for grabs. I was a Chris Christie guy for a while, but I don't know that bridge business.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say.
It seems like the people with the most ambition to be president, he was one of them.
Yes.
There's no doubt he's one of them, and he's in the middle. He's a moderate, I would say. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
On a lot of issues. But a lot of them are like Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
And Ted Cruz is far from moderate. He
That's
is
right.
way over there on the right. And so I don't think Ted Cruz has a chance of winning, but he really wants to.
Yes.
And so if he's the candidate, I think that's bad for the party.
I'm still hopeful that someone will emerge.
Hey, we had a good visit. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
And
I'm honored to be here.
You're always welcome.
You're kind.